Welcome to Central Georgia Focus, the Ask Mayor Miller edition. I'm your host, Peyton Anderson, Civic Journalism Senior Fellow Liz Fabian at the Center for Collaborative Journalism. Each month, Macon-Bibb County Mayor Lester Miller sits down with us and answers your questions. Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. We really appreciate you taking out the time to talk with us each month. First of all, there's been a sharp sell-off in the bond market. And I know that that type of financing is crucial for a lot of your projects like the arena. So what are your thoughts at this point?
Well, thoughts and prayers is what I like to say. We're watching the bond market, and we got our financial advisors looking at those things. Not going to deter the project, but we're trying to time the market as best as possible. We're hoping that we have some good news on the waterfront here soon, and perhaps the debt changes. And we're still about 30 days out, so I think we've got time to see it, decrease a little bit. So we're going to watch that with bated breath, and whatever it is, we'll hope the decision's going to be right for Macon-Bibb County.
So the UDA is still working out that bond deal specifically for the arena right now?
That's correct.
Okay. And so the Macon Water Authority Finance Chairman, Dwight Jones, has also been concerned about the bond rating for the Water Authority because they have just hundreds of millions of dollars of projects on the horizon, plus deferred maintenance, stormwater, all of those things. And so they've already approved a rate increase for the water and sewer and stormwater. And since the county's no longer providing SPLOST funds for the stormwater, is there any room for renegotiation? That's what they're going to be discussing at the next Water Authority Finance Committee meeting, renegotiating possibly the stormwater deal with the county.
I don't think so. I think that ship's already sailed. Most of the people that are involved in that on the Macon Water Authority were either on the Macon Water Authority or the county commission at the time. So I think they hopefully knew the deal they got into, and I think we've moved past that time. Shifting it back to the county is not going to make a difference with the taxpayers. They're still going to have to foot the bill with the water. The stormwater has nothing to do with your water bill. So it's not going to lower the water bill just by giving that back to the county. And you're still going to have money there, and certainly there's no SPLOST dollars for that, as if it was not included in this next SPLOST specifically for stormwater.
What about the levee at Carolyn Creighton Park, though? I mean, that's one of the issues that they have to repair. I think that's in the $20 million range or something for what they have to fix there. Is that something that the county may be able to help out with down the road, or?
Well, I think we certainly have a vital interest in making sure that the storm levee is secure, and we'll be talking to the appropriate experts on that. I have had some conversations in the past with Michelle Wana, and that's something that we all have a vested interest in. So I think, we're a good partner. We're going to do our part to make sure that we work collaboratively to do what's right for Macon-Bibb County. Right now, there's no specific SPLOST funds that's been identified.
Of course, I hate to be all this like bad financial news, but the national debt is now $40 trillion. And so do you have concerns about the finances? I mean, I know a lot of the projects that you have on your agenda are to grow revenue from tourism and things like that. But, if the economy tanks, you have a plan B?
Well, I feel good about the economy. We're in a good financial situation. I think that we do have our challenges. Our budget was real tight this year. As I mentioned, it's one of the toughest budgets we've had. That's because a lot of things are getting cut, from the state, national level down to the state, and the locals inevitably get the squeeze on that. So we're watching and monitoring that, very closely. We got our own tax digest coming up, and looking at the millage rate there. We've been very successful in keeping the millage rate the same or cutting it for the last 5 or 6 years, and we don't see any property tax increases this year as far as a millage rate increase, but certainly we're looking at keeping the millage rate the same because we're going to have to do that if we want to fund the police.
Our partners here at 13 WMAZ are curious when there might be some sort of proposal presentation for the Macon Health Club, as the Macon Melody projected not too long ago.
Well, I'm not sure. I think the Macon Melody may have gotten ahead of what was happening at the time. So that's between the UDA and Newtown. They're working on that project, and as soon as they've got something to report, they'll be the first one to let you know.
But as far as you know, there's nothing on paper yet for that project.
As far as I know, there's been some interest there. There's been some conversations, but there's no pen and pencil yet.
And you're still hopeful that it will be some sort of health club, correct? Or
I think the health club would be part of it. I could see a potential city club there, a hotel there, and a health club all combined. But that's just the mayor wanting, wishing what's going to happen there. But certainly, it's got to jump through a bunch of hoops before that happens. And I trust the Urban Development Authority in Newtown to bring back a appropriate proposal that we all can live with.
No, the county is not having the same kind of financial pressure as the school system is. You know, the school board has some tough decisions to make. Now, you were once at the helm of that board. I know that you don't control it any longer or have any direct connection to what they do, but do you have any advice or any thoughts on this, what the school system is going with the possible closing of schools? And
Well, I think there's a lot of, you have to look at your priorities. And certainly I'm not on the school board now. I don't tell the school board what to do. If they ask for my opinion, I'll give it to them, but it's, you know, to get, you know, what they pay for. And basically you can't continue to have the population that they have at the school system and keep the same amount of schools. Very tough decisions. I closed several schools or consolidated while I was there. There was some pushback, not as much as you see now, but in the end, when it happened, everybody was fine with it, and it saved money, and we moved further along, and we educated children. You have to start looking at being too top-heavy. I know everybody don't want to say that. I'm not talking about trimming the fat because we're talking about people, but sometimes you can be perceived to be a little top-heavy on assistant superintendents. Your travel has to be cut. You have to make all those hard decisions about closing schools, about, you know, cutting some things out before you look at, you know, starting to increase taxes. I was, you know, elated that they didn't increase the millage rate. They kept it the same, which is a good place to be in, not to have to raise the millage rate on our citizens in these trying times, but you got to be able to keep the millage rate the same, even if it means collecting some additional monies, because that means that we've grown a little bit here in Macon-Bibb County. And like Bibb County, the school system is, they don't evaluate these properties. You know, we hear it all the time. We get pushback a lot. We don't set the values. The state sets the requirements for the tax assessors to do the values, and we have absolutely zero control over that.
now, the public seems to really get involved with the school board once school closures are on the table. So since they're paying attention, do you think the kind of financial issues with the school board might kind of affect the vote coming up for the senior citizen property tax exemption on behalf of the school system and the county?
I think it's going to pass overwhelmingly. I think that people are seeing, you know, opportunities. This is the one opportunity they have to basically cut their own taxes, you know, off the school system and off the county. And I think a lot of seniors age 65, 75, and 85 are looking forward to being able to place that vote to remove some tax burden off of them. They've paid their fair share, in my opinion. They don't have to opt in. If they want to, you know, not opt into the deal if it passes, and they can continue to pay the taxes they pay now and receive the services they pay. But we're not going to cut any services. We have funding sources we believe that will be sufficient to make up for any losses there. So the school system is going to be basically revenue neutral on that, may actually gain some money in that whole deal.
So you think they're both going to pass, or do you think there's a possibility where the school board might not pass and the county will pass, or?
I'm not sure if they're going to be on the same referendum. We have two bills there.
There are two.
Yeah, two bills, but one
referendums, 'cause
referendum. They're going to be the same. No one wants to pay school taxes or county taxes. So I don't imagine anyone saying, you know, on a large level that, okay, we'll approve the county rollback, you know, to the exemptions there, but we won't approve the school system because we want to pay them more money. I think overwhelmingly, you know, you're going to have similar percentages there. Certainly the county be a large percentage, and I think the school system will as well. There's a misperception that if you take the senior exemption that you're not supporting the schools, and that's simply not the case. You can do it in other ways.
I know it's two separate ones because the Board of Elections just approved
Yeah, right.
putting them on the ballot, and they had to approve the one for the school system and for the county. Now, speaking of the Board of Elections, they did approve the 4th early voting location at South Bibb Recreation Center, but it can't happen before this November. And last month, you didn't think we needed an extra early voting location. So what do you think about the plans to open South Bibb?
Well, I mean, I think I don't think they got it in their budget. It's nice to say that you're going to open up a new, you know, a new opportunity for people to vote. I think sometimes you know, if you open up a new opportunity and you have increased costs there, there's costs that are associated with it. And I don't think the Board of Elections has it in their budget. We'll certainly work with them in any way we can. If you have more people voting early, that means less people are perhaps voting on election day, so you may have to look at scaling that back. I think it's hard to have both, but you know, we'll have open conversation. Our goal is to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to vote, that they remove all the barriers there, and we certainly want to encourage people to vote. And I'm going to look at the numbers to see if actually early voting opportunities is actually increasing the overall voting, or is it just getting people out early and you have the same amount of people voting at the end of the day.
I know they were saying about half of the voters vote early now, a little more than half. So, and they were wondering, do we need all these precincts then if you only have a handful of people coming in on the actual voting day? One more thing from the Board of Elections. Chair Mike Kaplan, again, praised the county. He says, they give us everything we ask for. So they're also asking, again, even the new annex is coming up, where there's going to be voting closer to the curb for those 75 and older and those who are handicapped. But even with that new annex, they still want a golf cart, and they want a larger golf cart to take more than just one person down to the Board of Elections.
Well, I think that Mike's been a good advocate for the Board of Elections, and certainly I'm sure he'll be making that request directly to me. They just need to put it in their budget and buy one. Quit renting this thing out, every year to year, have it in their inventory as they need to, and I think they could probably find the funds. I think there's a local golf cart company that's willing to sell it to them for a good price.
Issues with the unhoused population keep coming up, and downtown business owner Scott Mitchell was so frustrated recently by people harassing his customers that he was threatening on social media to close his shops and go back to work for a company or something. What can be done that hasn't already been tried?
Well, it's interesting that you should ask that. I was able to fly to Miami this last weekend through the Fort Lauderdale connection by train to Miami, and the purpose of that visit was to speak with the homeless trust there in Miami, because they've been very successful in some best practices they've used there, some creative policies. I was able to meet with the mayor's office there for the the security, the public safety, their housing, to kind of see how they're doing some things there, to see what we can do a little bit different. Strangely enough, they're doing some of the same things we're doing here now in Macon, but on a larger scale because they have a lot more people. But what I'll say is people are starting to change their attitude a little bit. Some of the same people downtown that didn't want to lock anybody up a couple of years ago, and we were trying to be very compassionate, but also have to follow the law there. Now saying, well, maybe we should do some of these things and perhaps getting some help while they're in the system. So I'm interested to show that what the new pit count, that'll be coming out very soon to show how surprisingly well we have done. And what you're seeing now is more of a perception than the numbers, but it's more focused to the downtown area. So I see that there's some challenges there. So I think we have to get on board with the businesses and the government and the philanthropy to do a little bit better job. And I think, help is on the way. Scott, of course, has 2 businesses downtown. He does a good job doing that, and he's a very compassionate guy, and I know he doesn't want anyone arrested, but sometimes the best thing you can do to protect the person and to protect the community is to make sure we take those people off the streets. And that's what's going to have to happen, like it or not. We have to do that and hopefully get them some help, especially with the jail expansion and the mental health services that we'll be providing at the jail next year. It's going to be some good help down the road.
Yeah, it's one thing for people who keep off to themselves and might have mental issues, but once they start interacting with people, I think that's what the concern has been. So also the downtown bid through the Nighttown Foundation went to Miami a couple of months ago. So is this a kind of piggyback on what they did to kind of learn a little bit more about that trust?
Yeah, it was, you have the nonprofits, and you have those types of folks with the nonprofits in Newtown. Then you have the government, right? So, we have our own perspective. Someone has to pay for it. It's nice. They have $65 million, and an $80 million endowment there in Miami. We don't have either of those. So it's easy to say all the great things you can do and how you can just pour money at things. They put a 1% tax on all the food and beverages, and all that money goes directly to their consortium that they have there. And they have a surtax, which is another additional tax on buildings and document fees that they have there. So they have a lot of money. I don't know that people in Bibb County are willing to make that commitment financially in addition to regular property taxes to do the things that they're doing there. But like I said, we're already doing Brookdale. We're doing some other things. They're actually going to be traveling through Macon-Bibb County soon and look at the great things we're doing at Brookdale. So it's a win-win for both of us. It's always good to share good information, and certainly we can pull some things that they're doing there, put them in Bibb County, and I see good things are coming. I've always said we get the interstate project complete. We expect the downtown portion to be complete by the end of this year. You get the addition to the jail open up. We've already got code enforcement on the way of doing some things there, giving some responsibilities, and the pit count's going to show that things have gotten better. But when you break up encampments and you get them off public spaces, sometimes those folks start bedrolling, meaning they get into the doorways of businesses downtown, and it looks like there's more than there are. And then you get the chronic homeless that no one wants to take care of. Maybe sometimes the police don't even want to respond because, it's just a homeless, and they know that there's just a turnstile there at the jail. So I think things will get better. It takes a little bit of time, so I just ask Scott and others to be patient and work well with the others.
Now, you mentioned the point-in-time count. Our GPB partner, Grant Blankenship, has been trying to get those numbers. You know, it happened in January. From our understanding that those numbers were sent to the Department of Community Affairs in Georgia, which sends it to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and then somehow we can get those numbers. But they're pending, is that what you said?
I think we'll have in the next couple of weeks. There have been some preliminary numbers, but we don't even know the final numbers until they put them into their system there. This is just the unhoused, not just the sheltered. You know, we're focused on the unhoused, unsheltered there. So be interested to see when we get that. You know, they change that every couple of years. So we're just waiting on the state to get the final numbers, and you know, we'll release them as soon as we get them in.
When Jay Call's Root Analytics became the contractor for the city to kind of oversee those type things, part of that contract was to do a report, and Grant has asked for that through the open records request, but the attorney's office says there are no responsive records. So have y'all not gotten a report from Root Analytics about what he's seen?
I don't think we've gotten a written report. We certainly have speak to Root Analytics and their team through multiple occasions. I think the report itself is probably the report dealing with the pit count and what the interpretation of that is going to be. So since the pit count hasn't been released yet and those numbers, there's nothing really to report on, other than just some preliminary information that we have had discussions on.
Now, this week, the county is also celebrating the extension of the Ocmulgee Heritage Trail with a ribbon cutting to the point that's north of Amerson River Park. Now, folks who used to walk through the river walk, as we called it, you know, the more urban part of it, you know, there hasn't been much traffic because of the construction. So do you expect that to come back to life as it was?
No doubt. I think once the construction is done, I've been saying it all along, we'll make sure that we've got code enforcement riding the trails, make sure it's safe and secure. We'll have our public works out there making sure our parks and beautification to make sure that they're cleaning those areas there, taking care of the washed up dirt, the trees or overhangs, dealing with any situation we have with those experiencing homelessness around that trail. It's just been very difficult to migrate ourselves as it is for people when you have the construction going on.
And we hear the intentions about making Macon the walkable city and all of that, but our pedestrian deaths are on the rise again. In fact, we are now poised to maybe even hit our max by the end of the year. And we just got that first complete streets report just last week. And the Vision Zero action plan that aims for 0 deaths by 2040 also needs to be updated. And I think the request, the estimated cost of that is about $400,000 to update that plan. Should we be doing something different there too?
Well, I think we made the decision a couple of years ago to hire Wes Stroud. He's doing a good job there. That was the problem all along, is to get someone in there. And we kept waiting for someone else to do it. We decided just to put the money up ourselves and do that. I saw the report. The report actually shows that we're trending downward, which is a good thing. And we can't just focus on having one bad year or anomaly. But also you have to look at it again. We say it over and over again. Most or all those deaths are coming from state roads and not local roads that we have control over. Yeah. We have to control what we can control, work with our state on the other things. And, you know, we just had some bad luck recently. Some of those stuff maybe could have been avoided, not sure. The good part about it is it looks like the designs that we've done, the traffic calming, those things have helped out a lot according to the report. And I think as we continue to build things and move things around, we're going to continue to do that, be a better, safe community. Still have to have people looking out for their own selves, whether it's driving a car or walking across the road.
From the latest SPLOST Advisory Committee meeting, Project Manager Clay Murphy explained that the county is really being able to pave even more roads than you even planned. So what are you expecting?
Well, we'll wait until that final number comes in. But one reason we're doing that is because we had our Small Business Administration, Sharice Merriweather's been working hard to get other contractors in. Well, used to have 1 or 2 contractors, now we're having 8 to 10 contractors. Drives the prices down. We use that extra money, and not it's a savings, but to pave more roads. So we're going to continue to do that. And now we're getting ready for sidewalks as well to start looking at some improvements there. I think people are asking for that. So we'll take part of that funding as well to use them for sidewalks as we can. But I think that everything's going well. We're certainly going to hit the 20 years in 1 year that we had set out to do. People thought I was crazy when I mentioned that and said, we're going to keep tracking it, and we're keeping track of it too. And so we have a lot going on. We have a lot to finish before the end of this year. I think we started this thing last October, November, and we're well on the way to paving that 20 in 1 year and then some.
We've talked about the striping, follows the paving, because we've heard that complaint. But I also talked with traffic engineer Nigel Floyd about the traffic sensors. When you come up to traffic lights, some of them know the car is there and it turns green for you, but those sensors have been messed up, particularly on the GDOT roads like Riverside Drive, and so people just have to wait until
Right.
a certain amount of time goes by. But folks on social media wanted to know, why can't they just do it right after the paving?
Well, a different company does it. Paving does one thing, and they do it, and you have to coordinate that. And you're paving 20 years of road in 1 year. Come on now. It takes a little time. So certainly there are two different companies doing that. No, most of your paving companies don't do the striping as well or the other things. And a lot of times you got to come back and make sure the punch list is taken care of. So.
We have a question from Mary Mundy, who wants to know why no one ever answers the phone at the engineering department.
Well, a lot of people call there and they have few staff, but I mean, they leave a message, they'll get back to them. They can always call and leave a message at the county attorney's office, and he'll certainly get their attention over there. But you can imagine the number of calls we get. Most of them probably shouldn't even go into the engineering department, but we have 160,000 people and people traveling through Macon-Bibb County, and you've got about 3 or 4 engineers over there.
All right. Diane Roberts asked, what are the plans for that property at Riverly Drive and Wesleyan Woods? She was expecting walking trails and has only seen some cherry trees being planted.
Well, it's we had to pass a SPLOST, right? And we just did that a few months ago. So we're well early into a 10-year SPLOST, and you know, Commissioner Wynn and Commissioner Hewlett have been over to that house with our county manager. We've had inspections done on the house to see what the best use for that house is. She'll have some community engagement coming up. And then we're going to allocate some funds for that within this fiscal year to begin looking at what needs to happen there. It's going to be some kind of maybe a passive park and perhaps not necessarily an event center, but a meeting space, a social type of place there for the neighborhood. And we just got to allocate the funds, but we're doing our due diligence so far.
It certainly could be beautiful, and I know that the garden clubs are very interested in maybe doing some plantings there, so maybe you can work that out. Anything new on the Lake Tovasofkee with the Lovejoy Capital proposal? What's the progress on that?
We're just waiting on a report for them. You know, they had, I can't remember the time frame that they gave us, but I think it's up to a year. So we're just waiting on their time frame. They said somewhere around 6 months, so we're probably a couple months into that.
Goo Goo Dolls are coming this week to the amphitheater. How's the venue working out?
Oh, venue's working out great. I mean, our last 4 or 5 concerts we've got to finish the year out. Most of them are going to be close to sell out, so we're very excited about that. It's going to be another historic year, even though the number of concerts are down, the quality of concerts, I believe, are up. So we've got some great things coming up between Goo Goo Dolls and several other performers between here and I think all the way to November this year. So we're going to finish very strong, and we're already looking forward to 2027. It's going to be on us before we know it.
We had a professional tournament at Rhythm and Rally for the pickleball venue there. What's the holdup in getting the courtside restaurant open? Do you know?
Well, back in, I guess, 3 years ago when we planned this food and beverage and it was going to be paid for by the company who's running it, prices were a little bit lower. So they set aside a budget back in 2000, just like we all did in our personal home finances, and things have gone up, right? Gas has gone up, food has gone up, everything has gone up. So it's hard to kind of, you know, squeeze those things into construction, but they're doing their best to kind of value engineer that, and they're making some good progress. You can't see it, it's behind the walls, but things are happening there. Equipment's being ordered. Just getting the final work to be done is kind of taking a little bit longer than we expected it for.
We had the opportunity this month to tour the new Advanced Manufacturing Pathway location there on Eisenhower Parkway in the old Butler Collision Center. What are your thoughts about that program that trains high school students for jobs that are in this community right now?
I was talking to Norm Nixon, who came to town, an old Southwest guy, a couple of weeks ago, and I told him, I mean, this is the opportunity we really have. If you want to make a dent in poverty, you can get these kids jobs making $65,000, $75,000, $85,000 a year. All they have to do is go to College and Career Academy, go through this program, and they're going to get hired into manufacturing. This program you're going to see is going to be one of the top in the state. We're way ahead of our time. We got some big projects coming to Macon-Bibb County, you know, in the area for advanced manufacturing, and we need all the employees and all the certified staff we can get. And our kids need to get those jobs, and we're going to make sure that happens.
That's right there by Central Georgia Technical College. Any news on the proposed residential loft project?
Well, we're going through our inspection with Terracon now on our asbestos and lead paint and all those things, and you know, you'll probably see that building come down in the next couple of months there. So all those buildings will be making way for new development, and I can't wait to see that happen, and it's going to be further revitalization of that area.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for being part of this program. Remember, you can send your question to AskMayorMiller for mercerccj at gmail.com. Go ahead and send it now, and we'll just ask it next month. Thanks for joining us.